Welcome to yet another episode of JSB Echo. I am Devi Premnath from Jansen School of Business, and today we are joined by Mr. Balakumar, a transformational leader having more than 20 years of experience across Middle East and India. From corporate boardrooms to consulting and education, he brings with him powerful insights on people, leadership, and purpose. So let's get started. A very warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
And I have got some questions, and I'm sure that your answers will be quite enriching and enlightening,
Sure.
not only for the students community, but for all the people who are associated with management.
More than happy to. Yeah.
Sir, you started as a general manager, eventually moved on to be a managing director and later founder and CEO. What was that first moment when you realized that you were meant to build and not just manage?
Yeah, interesting one. Because I've always felt, even I think it's the starting job I had, which was like, they say the tipping point was like Malcolm Gladwell's tipping point. That's what happened to me. I was thrown into a territory which had almost zero business when I started my career in CMC in Vizag. So especially I started as a software, salesperson, business development. They already had some business for hardware, but software was scratch. So for me, building something from scratch always gave me that energy, And then when I went on to grow the other businesses, when I went into steel or when I went into staffing, so I was always looking at not just, live or, just manage what is existing, but to see how to grow the existing businesses. And I also believe that you should, as a business, have a couple of verticals or maybe 3-4 verticals which act as 4 pillars of every business. Because if a business is built on only one, business vertical, a company, then at some point in time, competition or industrial, the market scenarios or whatever can change dramatically, and then you suddenly become, even if it's your number of customers, it's the 80-20 rule. 20% of your customers bring 80% of your profit.
Okay.
So you don't put all eggs in one basket is one theory.
Right.
That's why I felt it. So for me to keep building something and then handing it over to someone who is, who's a successful, a leader, that's how I've kind of worked on it. Yeah.
So Dubai has been central to your professional story, and how has this Middle East really shaped or honed your leadership mindset? And one more question to add, how different is Middle East, the environment there, from what we have in India?
Leadership. I can't summarize it more than anything else. Can you believe how many times I've seen the ruler of Dubai, the current ruler of Dubai, Sheikh Mohammed bin, Rashid, he drives on his own. Okay, now probably because of age and other factors, he gets driven around. I was driving on the what we call the heart of the Sheikh Zayed, which is like in Chennai we call the Mount Road or whatever. I saw a vehicle, I overtook me, and it had Dubai number 1, and I knew what Dubai number 1 is. So I slid down and I took him, not the right way of driving, but I overtook him from the left, and I looked up and he was there. And I had the honor of meeting him in person once as well. So you would, the good old saying is, you don't judge a person by the answers they give, but by the questions they ask. And you will not believe, that time I was in the fastener industry, which was manufacturing, and we had a specific problem related to wire nails. Okay, it was a welding problem we had, and our engineering team was struggling to solve the problem. You would not believe, I was the one who received him, and myself and the GM of the plant, we were walking around with His Highness and also Sheikh Ahmed, who was the chairman of Emirates Airline. When he came to that particular machine, he stood there and asked us, "You guys must be having this wire problem." We were just stunned. I mean, he is running a country, and he runs a company like a CEO. That's the difference you see. I mean, to summarize the point between what you're asking between here and there is, everything has to happen on time, and every time he promises something, it gets done on time. In fact, the biggest example we can talk about is the Dubai Metro, which was September 9, 2009, 9:09 p.m. It happened. It happens. So that's the key. The thing is, to have a vision is one, but to execute is another. And the other thing with him is he's surrounded by a great team. It doesn't, for him, it's not nationality which mattered. He has a great bunch of local UAE nationals as in his team, but he also believes in expats who add value, and we as Indians have been respected. I think that's one thing which stands out about Dubai. I mean, today Dubai is a global brand. When I went there in '93, people tell me, "Oh, wow, what is, why are you going there?" In fact, somebody in the family told me, "There's oil and camel. There's nothing else in Dubai." But look at it today. I mean, it's one of the global business environment where people are. In fact, talking about education, as we're sitting at an education institution today, you have so many international universities to set up shop. Why would they go there? Because education is the foundation of any good society. The fact that they are all coming and establishing their campuses there shows where the vision of the country is.
You call it the knowledge village, I think.
Today, yes, it is knowledge village. Now they call it knowledge park, and they also have something called Dubai Academic City.
Okay.
Huge campuses. You name the big ones are coming, and it's been an interesting journey for me living there. Yeah.
Okay, great to know. Sir, at Bilsco, you were a part of scaling operations, and from what I read through your story, I come to know that more than 12,500 employees were there.
Yeah.
So what was the hardest leadership challenge that you faced when you were managing such a huge crowd, say 12,500?
Managing people is the most difficult thing. You can manage any business you want, but it's the good old Jim Collins theory leadership, having the right people in the right seat in the bus. And you have to take sometimes tough decisions. If you have to get somebody off the bus, go ahead and do it. Because that's another thing I learned. I mean, I'm grateful to all my old bosses, because one of the hardest decisions I had to take was to let go of people. And I still remember the first person I had to let go. It took me more than a month and a half to bring myself to do it. But it's just that very nice person, etc., been in the organization for a very short time of time. I mean, I wouldn't say that we had given him reasonable time, but performance was not there. Now, if you let that happen, what it does, it also sends a wrong message to the other people in the organization. So for me, at times, that was one. But the most important aspect for me was having a great bunch of people around me as my team. As I mentioned to the students recently in the morning session, it's like Saurav Ganguly saying, I'm as good as my team. A captain is as good as his team. I was blessed with fantastic people in my team, and they helped me build the business. And accordingly, when you, as a leader, you set the tone, then automatically others believe in the same thing. You don't look at your team member as a threat to your position. If you look at that person as, okay, he or she has to grow, then automatically you grow and the organization grows. And that's a philosophy I've always adopted, and it's always paid dividends. So
fantastic, sir. And CSR has been quite visible in your part of your leadership journey. And do you believe that the CSR should be an embedded business strategy, or it should be treated separately?
I think it depends on the value of the organization. I was fortunate, especially at Dulsco, where the owners, especially my chairman, God bless him, we lost him recently a few months ago. I never seen a human being like him, fantastic person, and he always believed, and as you all know, the month of Ramadan is coming in the next few weeks, and giving away your part of your wealth during Ramadan is part of the Islamic culture, and even we all have it in our different whatever religious background we come in. Giving to the needy is very important, but working closely with him, I learnt it from him that helping the not so well off people is part of the culture which I lived in. And not only that, every time a natural calamity happened, because we had nationalities from many parts of Asia. We had people including from Myanmar, we had people from Philippines, we had people from India, Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Africa. So every time a natural calamity hit one of these places, we would raise funds, we would talk to the embassies and make sure we did it. And when the Nepal earthquake happened in 2015, it was honestly a life-changing moment for me, because not only I had 20% or 25% of our workforce from Nepal, between UAE and Qatar. I also had help at home who were Nepalese. So I could see the pain they had. So I immediately told my chairman, saying that, listen, we got to do something different. So I raised not only funds but also a lot of material, almost 5 tons worth of relief material, put it on an aircraft. I worked with my recruitment partners back in Kathmandu, went personally myself down to the affected areas, and I happened to meet some of the people who have suffered. And that's when you realize that when you make people do that work, you realize how lucky you are, how privileged you are. And we, as a policy in the company, what we did, it was not a namesake thing, at least once a month, a day was dedicated where not just the staff, but we encourage the family to come with the children. Because the children, especially growing up in Dubai, to say that everything is glitzy, glamorous, everything is good looking, you don't see poverty in that country. But when you see people, in some form or other, you go to for a differently abled children's school, then you realize how lucky you are in life. So, and we also encourage, charity in different countries. And so when the expat went to that country, they would take their family and go to that particular NGO or an organization and see what's happening. This is basically the value system which you build, and people need to understand how privileged we are when we are what we have got. And that was something which my parents believed in it, and I was lucky that I worked in an organization which had CSR as not as just a branding, a marketing strategy, but it was very much part of our DNA.
Yeah, that's true.
It's very much part of. We built a school in Nepal. We work very closely with an organization called Dubai Cares, which belongs to the Dubai government, and many other countries. We work very closely with the embassies, and also things like when an employee passed away, we did not just give what was as per the government norms, the insurance. We raised extra funds. On top of it, a chairman would cut a check as an ex gratia fund and make sure. I mean, we felt that when you employ one person, especially as a laborer, he's feeding at least 5 people in the family. This is
That's
something
right.
people forget. And when the revenue earning member passes away, what does the family do? So those are things we believe in it. And I think starting early helps. And I've made sure my kids have gone and done volunteer work at various organizations when they were in high school, when they were in college, even when they are working, so that they know that how fortunate they are in their life. Yeah.
And these become the satisfying episodes of your life. when you
Absolutely.
do
I mean, giving
the
back, and
CSR
even now,
initiatives.
why I've got into the education spaces, yes, there is some money in it, but more than money, sitting and talking to young, bright minds, and in whatever little way I can, guide them or give them some kind of guidance from my past experience. If there are 1 or 2 takeaways from, let's say, this morning session, that's good enough for me, and also being very honest. I think dealing with youngsters keeps me sharper, because they know so much. Every generation has the benefit of having information, more information, but today probably we have information overload. But the fact that they know more than, my generation or whatever, helps me learn also from them. So you got to be keeping yourself up to pace when you come to speak to people like that. So that's another thing for me.
So from large organizations and leadership positions, what was the one thing that pushed you to K5's consulting? And tell us more about K5.
K5 is more into strategic consulting in UAE, not only UAE, the GCC market actually. So I help companies come and set up businesses in UAE. And since I've been in the staffing space, I also help them work, build sourcing people, whether it's for permanent or secondment. And also, since I've, like you hit the nail on the head about building. So when somebody, either a company which is going through a crisis or a company coming up and setting up business, I try to work with these two to build startup and go through. And also education and, something in some form, getting involved with the next generation, giving back was part of my, I wanted it to be part of my journey. And that's when long-time family friends of mine who own Mancom services, and I had already started working with the universities for them. And when they offered me, he said, why don't you come and set up an office? That's why I came to the city, Coimbatore. And I set up the office here. So I work very closely with various colleges and schools, help students make their choice decisions where they want to study abroad. And sometimes I even tell them, don't rush it. You can probably do your undergrad in India and then go for your postgrad. So that kind of thing, that's also part of my mentoring exercise. So KFI has been an interesting journey, doing that.
Okay. So you call yourself an empowering educator, and this is a question from the MBA college. Like, if at all you had a chance to redesign an MBA curriculum, what are the things that you would like to remove, and what are things that you would like to add in?
More than remove or add, I would just modify and make it more practical, make it more industry oriented, understand, give more industry exposure. And also I encourage people, try and do your MBA after a couple of years of work experience. Because I came as a fresh graduate back then in 1986 and started doing my MBA. Straight out of college, there's parental pressure or whatever you call it, social pressure. You got to go and study, do your masters now, and then, you will not have the bandwidth to do it. But, if you hindsight, if I had done 2 years of work experience or 3 years of work experience, and then I go into a B school, I think that's when I would have appreciated the MBA program a lot more.
Okay.
Because then you know what happens in finance, what happens in HR, what happens in marketing, what happens in sales or operations. You've seen it practically. So when you're being taught by an industry specialist, wow, okay, then you can relate to it. For me, it was flipping back and seeing, okay, when you goof around a bit when you're a fresh graduate, but when when you finish a B school and you go back to actual working, then you realize, I could have been a bit more serious, honest truth. And this is what I tell people, that if you're going to do an MBA, work. I mean, my daughter is a classic example. She did a master's in organization psychology in Columbia, but she was very clear, Dad, I'm going to work for a few years. She had put in almost 4 years of work experience, and then she went to do the grad school. So it helps people when they do it, but the core is to make it more hands-on, more practical, less classroom oriented is where you do it. So you will make mistakes when you join a job. So you rather have somebody else pay for your mistakes when you're when you're doing an MBA program, and that would take you, you will look back and see, wow, I mean, in a real life scenario, you would be more cautious, or you'll be smarter to make those decisions than when you go and fresh thrown into a pool.
Okay. So next I have a rapid fire section.
Oh yeah, let's go.
One habit that every CEO must build but most ignore.
I think delegation.
Delegation. Okay. A book that shaped your leadership thinking.
Maverick by Ricardo Semler. Okay. Amazing book.
One failure that taught you more than success ever did.
I walked away from a job with Citibank, and hindsight, I wouldn't call it failure. Probably if I had better guidance, I would have, done it differently, but no regrets. I mean, I'm very distinct with that, but these things happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if Balakumar weren't a business leader, what would he be?
I would probably be a more running an NGO of my own.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that's my passion. Yeah, and still it's there. I don't want to be in a bucket list, but yes, that's what I would be doing.
And the closing question, and as usual, it's a cliche one. Still, I can't stop asking because answers are different when it comes from different
people
and different people. What's the advice that you would like to give to the young professionals of today?
Attitude.
Attitude.
That's the only thing. I mean, people, I told them today that you're hired for attitude and trained for skills. If you show the right attitude, your willingness to learn, willingness to roll up your sleeve, willingness to dirty your hands and do your job, put your head down and grind it down with that hard work mentality, forget instant gratification. Nothing comes overnight. What comes overnight goes overnight as well. What stays with you long term is what you earn, by grinding yourself down to the ground. And I think it's an attitude to, life, that can-do attitude, and a humility and gratitude makes a huge difference. For me, I always look for the attitude in a person when I have it. That's the most important thing.
Excellent, sir, and thank you for being with
Pleasure.
us. And
Thank
it
you
was
so
a
much for
pleasure
having me, yeah.
talking to you, asking you questions. Thank you.